Good morning. Um, as you know, I'm a radical feminist, and radical feminists believe. No, sorry. Radical feminists know that the dominant culture operates under certain principles. It knows that it operates under hierarchies, and it knows that there's system of oppressions that affect everyone. That's you and I, non-humans, and the planet. Now, I'm 42 years old, and although I've not been a active activist the majority of my life, because I've suffered from all sorts of problems, drug addiction, interpersonal relationships, getting into fights, violence, involving fights with my girlfriends, getting arrested, all sorts of stuff, you name it, the whole gamut. But throughout my entire life, I've had the notion, as all humans do, that the life that I'm living, or the life that I was supposed to live, or be forced to live, was an illusion. It was utter fabrication. And of course I was surrounded by people that told me that how I felt was wrong, and I had to accommodate what was happening. This is still happening right now. As activists, we talk every day. You know, social media is awash every single day, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. What is it? I don't know, 5 billion users, a ridiculous amount of users every day on Facebook and other forms of social media, sharing ideas, sharing opinions. And, you know, created a niche on social media. We can all talk about how fucking shit the dominant culture is. And we can live in this little bubble where we believe we're actually making a difference. You know, we can all post those funny memes about Donald Trump, and we can call him an idiot, and we can laugh about him, and oh my god, he's not going to publish his tax returns, and he is going to build that wall, and yes, he is going to deport Muslims. We can laugh, and we can joke, and we can ridicule him as much as we like, and we can do that with all aspects and facets of the dominant culture. But it does nothing, does it? Really? Does it? In fact, these are the movements under which we have elected some of the most right-wing, neoliberal, conservative governments known to have existed in the ever, really, essentially. I was going to compare the modern American government to the Nazis, but God, the American government, they put the Nazis to shame. Right, so we're activists and we want to fight. And we want to resist. Essentially what we want to do is we want to build active and lasting communities that are formed from the ground up, i.e. dealing with children all the way into adulthood. And we want to form these communities to build a lasting resistance. Because the reality, people, this is the reality. We're fucked. Oceans are dying. Fish are dying, species are dying at unprecedented rate, drinking water is contaminated, the air is contaminated, we just destroy the land to fucking farm and farm and farm and farm. And of course we are engaged in perpetual warfare. We're fucked. So the reality is, what we need to focus on is the future, if there is actually going to be a future. And to do that, we need to resist. And to be able to effectively resist, we have to uproot the driving force and the dominant principle of the dominant culture. What is the dominant principle of the dominant culture? What system are we living under? Neoliberalism, we've talked about that before. Patriarchy, that's where we're at. Patriarchy is the root cause of all my problems. Patriarchy is the cause of all your problems, it's the cause of all your children's problems, and it's the cause of the issue that is killing species at an unprecedented level and just basically rendering the earth uninhabitable. We need to uproot toxic liberalism. And essentially, if you're not versed in that type of speak, liberalism is basically the acceptance of ideas unquestioningly. And liberalism is basically the core of that idea about the quiet man and just getting by and accepting and turning a blind eye, and then not even turning a blind eye, blatantly just fucking ignoring what is happening. We have to uproot liberalism. To do that, we need to stand strong. We need to use strong language. We need to use the direct language, and we need to use direct action. There is also times for non-violence, and there is a time for violence. And then to understand the differentiation between violence or direct action and non-direct action, we need to understand the concept of violence. To understand the concept of violence, you need to be able to look at violence radically. Because yes, it is terrible if I was to just get up right now, go up the street and start smashing somebody's car in for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Or maybe another human being, or a non-human. It'd be unacceptable. But we live in a violent culture. Our lives are dictated by a form of violence. If we don't get up in the morning and if we don't go out to work, we will essentially starve to death. There are countless people living on the streets right now. It's pissing down with rain out there, and there are untold people who have been living homeless for God knows how long, and today countless more people will be made homeless. Countless more people will not have enough to eat. That is a violent culture. Also, I'm very privileged. You know, I'm staying in my mum's caravan, and obviously paying of rent is pretty lax. But the reality is, if I was living in another property, or I had a mortgage and I refused to pay my mortgage or was unable to pay my mortgage, I'd be evicted and I'd be put out in the street, and I'd become one of those homeless people. That is violence. What also is violence is we live under the constant threat that, you know, this belief that's propagated by mainstream media that we're all going to be attacked. We're going to get on a train one day and we're going to get blown up. There's going to be a terrorist attack. We're going to be out shopping, buying presents for a loved one. You know, we've all seen the fucking movies, and, you know, it happens, and we get blown up by some mad terrorist. Now, I'm not denying that there are people out there with fucking access to chemical weapons and access to guns and access to fucking a whole plethora of military hardware that can, and probably will, given the opportunity, kill you. But these people are in your own fucking government. And these people, this is what they do to other parts of the world. It's constant warfare. It's constant rifling the planet for resources. It's constantly just going in and destroying existing economies, if there are existing economies, undermining them, opening them up to neoliberal corporations, big corporations, transnational corporations, and then just fucking them over. And we're sitting back and watching about it, and we're posting a meme about Donald Trump, and we're getting offended because somebody uses the word fuck, or we're getting offended because, you know, you say, hey, wait, whoa, wait a minute. I actually believe that women should have the right to dictate who comes into their spaces. I believe that there should be a safe space for women, especially in our culture, because, you know, sexual violence is a really big fucking problem. You deny that? You deny sexual violence is another problem? Well, that is a conversation for another day.